For practice exercise 2.2 loop squares, we are asked to write a for loop that produces the following output. First, we are going to need we are told that this problem asks for bare code, which means that we do not need to write a class or method heading around our code. So we're just going to write the for loop. We'll have our for syntax, and our syntax looks like this for our loop. We'll have our int I, and that's going to equal 0, and it's going to run a certain amount of times. So since we're given all of the values here, we can see how many times this needs to run. And this needs to run 11 times, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 values, so this needs to run 10 times. So this is going to run as long as I is less than or equal to 10. And we're going to have I plus plus, like this. In here, we'll have system.out.println, like this. And what we're going to print are these numbers. So we can actually start I at 1 and make this 11. And we're going to store I, we'll call this result. And it's going to store the calculation here. So first it's going to be I. That gives us 1. But then our next value is 4. And unfortunately, I is going to be 2 on the next time, and not 4. So what we can do here is multiply I by I, and that will give us 2 times 2. And the next iteration, when we have 3, we'll have 3 times 3, which is 4, or 9. And then the next iteration we'll have 4 times 4, which is 16. So in here, we'll just print out result like this, and submit. After we submit, we do have some errors, and that's because we have a print like this, or a print line. It needs to just be print. We didn't output all the numbers, or we did output the numbers. However, we have some issues with spacing, so we can just add a space like this, print it again, and we printed out one more number than we should have. So we can either change this to 10, or we can just set it as less than 11. If we print this out, we have passed the test. We are told that for an added challenge, we can modify our code so it does not use this multiplication operator. So to do this, we'll have our for loop, like this. And inside of here, we'll have the same thing where we have int I is equal to 1, and it's going to go for as long as I is less than 11. And then we can write I plus plus. In here, we are going to output our result every single time this loop runs. So we have a system.out.println. And in here, we're going to have to print out something. Well, before we do this, we notice that we start at 1. So we will have a value, or we will declare something that will store 1, and it will add the values and increment up every single time. So here we can start out by saying int result, and that's equal to 0. And the reason why we have result is because this is what we'll print out eventually. This is what we'll store our answer in. And the reason why it's equal to 0 is because we just need to initialize it. Next we'll have int add, and this is going to be equal to 1, and this is what we are adding every single time. So first we have a 1 here, like this. And to get this into result, we'll say result is equal to add. However, when we go to the next one, if we just say result is equal to add, it's just going to be 1. So we can do result plus equals add. And then the next time this runs, result's going to be 2. However, this isn't 4, it's 2. So we can say that every time after this runs, add is going to equal itself plus 2, like this. And basically what this is saying is that after we get our first value, which is 1, add is going to now be 3. So we add 1 to 3, and then we're going to print out 4. and then add is going to be 5, or I'm sorry, it's going to be, since add is 2 here initially, so an add is initially 1, and then we are adding 2 to it, so it's going to be 3. After we run it again, it's going to be 5, and then result will be 4, so 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. And then we just keep doing this so on throughout our loop. And if we submit this, this should work. And we are close to passing the test. However, the reason why we didn't, it seems, is because we have a println when we just need a print, so it prints all on the same line. And if we run it again, we can see if this works correctly or not. And we have an infinite loop, and that's because we have 1 is less than 11 and not I is less than 11. So if we fix that, and then put a space right here and submit it, this should work properly, and we pass the test. And it's important to know that code will not always work, especially if you're doing it for the first or second time. And that's why there might be some errors, but errors bring you closer to the solution if you're good at debugging.